Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, people who have lost children and family members need a lot of support. And we've got a wonderful guest on today who's given a huge amount of support to people and has a difficult story that I think people are going to identify with. So can you introduce her, Heidi?
Sure, Mom. We're talking today about caring for yourself and your family after a death. And our guest is Valerie Samuels. Valerie is the mother of 5 surviving children. She lost her twin daughter, Gina, 9 days after her birth. As a support to children who have experienced the death of a twin, she has written the book, Always My Twin. Welcome to the show, Valerie.
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Valerie, it's so great to have you on today. And Heidi and I wanted to talk to you about your daughter who passed away. She passed away after 9 days. Did you know you were going to have twins?
Yes, I did. I knew probably, in maybe the first semester. And I also knew that she might be born with some challenges. What I did not know was that what the severity of the challenges were. So we were really unprepared that she might not live. And that's what happened. She did not survive.
So she lived for 9 days.
Yes. They were born full term. She was born full term. She was intubated at birth and needed to remain on life support. So we just made a decision, after about 9 days, when we recognized things were not changing, and actually they were starting to get worse. We made a decision to put her fully in God's hands and have her removed. And she lived for 40 minutes after we had her removed.
Wow.
Yeah, she could not breathe on her own. Yeah.
And it was 2 twin girls that you had?
Yes. Yep. Her name was Gina, my daughter who passed away. Her surviving sister is Julia. And Julia's a college freshman now.
Wow. Were you worried about Julia surviving as well, or just Gina?
It was just Gina. Yes. We knew that Julia's health was fine, but they did watch her after she was born because they were surprised by the diagnosis. We didn't have a formal diagnosis till she was born. So they watched her for a couple of days in the NICU, and but she's fine.
Well, I was thinking it must have been really difficult to, I'm sure you were prepared for 2 babies to come home, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And even with Gina, knowing that perhaps she might have some challenges, I was prepared to, we were going to do whatever it takes. I was already a stay-at-home mom, so I was prepared to stay home with her, and care for her. But yeah, her passing was definitely a shock and a surprise. We had no idea that the severity of her condition was as it was. So yeah, it was very, very difficult time. I think one of the things I remember the most is taking back one of the car seats. And that was hard. We had the house for a long time before we just recognized we had to take it back. So yeah, a lot of tough memories.
What did people say?
Yeah, I think it was also a shock for many of them. Many did not know what to say. I mean, I didn't even know what to expect. So some of the comments that we received, or I received, sometimes were not very helpful. I had comments like, well, at least you have the other one, thinking that was very comforting. And at that time, it really wasn't.
We always hear so often, well, at least you've got sisters, right, Heidi?
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking when Valerie said that. One of the comments that I get, Valerie, you'll be able to identify with this. When people find out I had a brother die, they say, do you have any other brothers and sisters? And I say, yeah, I have 2 sisters. And they said, oh, good.
Right.
Like they replaced my brother or something. So it's,
exactly.
And twins is a special thing, it's a very unique situation.
Yes, absolutely. And I also think that when people make statements like that, I did come to learn a little bit later that, understanding what they meant, even though I would in time have to make a few corrections, like let them know what would be the right thing to say. But it really comforts the other person more to say something like that than it does for the bereaved person. You know, it kind of makes them feel good, or makes them feel like, okay, you know, I can handle saying that. And if they haven't been in your shoes or any of our shoes, they really have no idea of how, you know, how horrific these losses are.
Well, and I'm thinking it must be bittersweet and really a little bit complicated. You've
Hmm.
got a daughter that lived, the
Right.
twin, and now you celebrate her birthday, etc., and the other daughter is not there.
Right.
So that's
It is very complicated, and it's been like that for the last 18 years. The severity of the grief has softened, but it is a very difficult day waking up, you know, even if it was a single loss, you know, but knowing that that child isn't there on their birthday. One thing that I find complicated is the fact that I still have to celebrate that birthday because of my surviving daughter. So I have to make sure, celebrating her life. I'm truly happy for her and do all those emotions, but you do feel schizophrenic, feel like I have this whole other side that hasn't gone anywhere. You know, I will always miss her sister, and knowing that there should be, two children, two girls here. And that's just the way it is. You know,
so
I
in your book, Always My Twin, what is it that you wanted people to know that have lost a twin?
Well, to open the dialogue, and that's what a lot of parents, the feedback has been, that it helps to open a dialogue in a family about that twin that's not there, or that child that's not there, because a lot of parents don't know how to start the conversation, especially if the child had passed away at a very early age, or even prenatally. You know, do I tell my other children about this child? Do I tell my twin about that he or she had a twin? And they struggle with that. So this has been one of the books that I looked for when my daughter passed away. There was nothing like that out here. And that's what propelled me to write it, was to help other families start that dialogue about, first of all, we're not going to pretend that your child didn't exist. Um, he or she were here, and this is how our family remembers this child, with
I
different.
want to ask you a question. What if I had a twin, my child had a twin, and now they're older, and I'm hearing you, and I'm realizing that I should have told the twin that they had a twin. And
Mhm.
how do you approach telling children or other people that they had a twin? That's got to be really difficult.
It is, and I still hear from parents who struggle with that. The child is maybe grade school, and they haven't told. I think today, because we're talking a lot more about these things, I see a lot more parents telling their children early. And but I did do a little research after my daughter passed to find out, how is that handled. And what I found out was that twins who are not told about their twin early on, and they grew up to be adults, or even teenagers, they were very upset
Yeah.
about not knowing.
Well,
And
it's interesting,
I,
Valerie, because I keynoted a couple of years ago at a Twinless Twins conference, and I learned a lot about twins, the stuff that you already know because you've had twins. And there was a woman there that's parents did not tell her. And when she was an adult, she found a birth certificate,
yeah.
which was her twins.
Mm.
And she was really angry.
Angry, yes.
She said, Heidi, my entire life, I felt like a part of me was missing.
Yes.
Now
right.
I know why. I could never understand what was going on. Something was missing.
That's
And
right.
that kind of gave her the full picture, and she resented the fact that her parents didn't tell her.
Right. And sometimes parents don't, because they think they're protecting that child. They think because it's so painful that you want to spare your child that, or spare that twin. You can't. I mean, it's painful. I rather that you heal through the years, and come to know the truth, and work through healing, throughout your life, and acknowledging that twin, versus no one saying anything to you. And many twins speak of feeling a void, or feeling that they know that there was somebody else, that there was a
Because
twin.
they're together in utero for
Oh,
your babies for 9 months. They were together.
yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I will say this: my surviving twin, Julia, Um, she has grown up with, everything I've done, for parents and support for families. She's been right alongside with me.
Wow.
She's not very vocal, like with her own words about how she feels. So I've given her room for that. I never wanted to project all of my, grief and things on her and let her grieve the way, she chose to. But I do find that when she went away to college this year, she's been wearing I gave her a necklace that has the word twin in Morse code.
Um,
And she's been wearing that necklace all year since she's been away. And I think that's her way of quietly acknowledging,
yeah.
her. And that's fine.
How old was she when you wrote the book?
Julia was about 4. The little girl in the book is modeled after Julia. And so she's grown up knowing the book. All of my children actually have grown up reading the book because it involves the whole family,
Right.
and that is her. So,
Right, because it's a sibling loss.
yes, absolutely. Yep. And that's why I tell some parents too that, they can read this book, or the experience, can also be used for loss of a child that's not a twin, because we're doing the same things. We're honoring that baby at birthdays or Christmas. What do you do during the holidays? What do you do with milestones? And
And what do you do? Give us a couple of things that you do, Valerie.
well, things that we've done consistently is at birthdays. And we used to do maybe 2 cakes, but now when Julia got older, I let her direct how she wanted it handled. So it would either be a cake with both of their names. Sometimes she wanted cupcakes for both. So she was always involved. And now that she's older, we do a cake, but sometimes we'll pick out maybe a little cupcake in memory of Gina. But her presence and her acknowledgement is always there. Candles for her as well. We put whatever milestones. I try to get the same number. When she turned 18 and 16, we had balloons at her gravesite. So that's something that we do. Christmas time, we always hang a stocking with Gina's name on it, as I'm sure lots of families do, for their losses. And also ornaments that we keep over the years, special occasions. And this year was a little bit, again, another milestone. My daughter graduating high school and going to college was a little challenging for me, because it was a big milestone in my mind. I know, there should have been 2 girls crossing that stage. And so it was again it was a little tough. And but I think talking about her, acknowledging, yes, that's how I feel, instead of stuffing it down, is very helpful, is very, very healthy.
Well, I love what you've done, and tell people how they can get your book. And also, I know you do some things online, and let people know how they can connect up with you.
It's called Always My Twin. It's available on Amazon.com. It's also available at the publisher's site, which is Trafford.com. And some of the groups that I'm involved with online, a big one, especially if you've lost a twin, is called Parents of Twinless Twins. If you are a twinless twin adult, or even a young person, there's a group called Twinless Twins Incorporated, which is also very dynamic support groups for these unique losses. I also affiliate with a group that is called Compassionate Friends, and they're located internationally, and I attend the Charlotte, North Carolina group, and just try to advocate and share my experiences, especially, being on this road for 18 years with, newly bereaved parents, whether they've lost a twin or an older child or any age. There's a lot of common ground, in our losses, whether we've lost the multiple or not.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you so much for what you've done for the world. You're just a light in the world, and it's fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie, and thank you for giving hope to those families that need it.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
And thanks everybody for joining us today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe. I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.